What's up, guys? I'm back with another deck profile video. This time we're going to go over something that's really popular as of late, and you've probably already seen builds that look exactly like this, if not very similar. Maybe some ratios here or there, some card choices here or there, but this is Mono Green Cell. This is the Cell deck that's all in on the Cell engine from top to bottom, Union Force through and through, and this is my version of the deck itself. So as of right now, this is what the build currently looks like. I do have a sideboard made up for the deck, and I do have sideboard notes, so I can go over that information with you guys. So all in all, let's just talk about Cell as a leader, and let's talk about the metagame as we go forward. So, playing a lot of games recently. Did my normal thing like I do, like today, Sunday, this morning. I took a lot of the information that I've picked up either from over the weekend or over the past week and tried to apply it when it comes to the deck building that I've done going forward. And so, you know, I'm kind of slowly but surely putting the format together and where it needs to be. I tried a lot of crazy stuff out to begin with, such as Zamasu, Goku Black, those decks, and those decks are still formidable, especially Zamasu. I think Zamasu is going to stay around longer in the format than Goku Black is, just because of Zamasu's durability and the ability to keep games going as long as possible until he needs to be able to win. So I think Zamasu stays in the format, especially he has a pretty decent matchup against Cell, so he'll stay around. So Zamasu, Vegito, and Cell are looking like just the big three decks from set 2 that are making a really important splash into the metagame. And I think as people go forward and we continue to test this new format, we're going to see that a lot of the set 1 decks are still really strong. Captain Ginyu is still easily a tier 1 deck and a tier 1 strategy, as people post about today. Cold Bloodlust alone, that card makes a huge difference on the format itself. I have a tricolor Ginyu list of my own that I've been tweaking and working on. Of course, it runs similar cards to the ones that George Markle ran in set 1, but it has some key choices for set 2, and then a little bit difference with the negates and some of the card choices that I made in the deck itself. So that's something I'll probably be bringing you as now we start to get closer and closer to regional season. That means the decks are going to start getting more and more competitive, a little bit less fun, but at the same time, we're looking for consistency, and going into a regional, we're looking to make not necessarily the safest choice, but for me, as someone who likes to play on the competitive level, I like to play something that gives me a ton of outs, and I have the opportunity to take a game into make a game into a longer game, because I feel that a lot of times the longer a game goes, the better my decision making usually is over my opponent. And so that's what I like to do, and I like to try to make the game as fair as possible. So when it comes to like my phrase I used to use back in the day, get good, that really just means trying to take a game and make it as fair as possible and pick a deck that kind of does that for you. So when you play a game, all you're relying on is basically your skills at that point, your knowledge, how good you actually are at the game, and all that of course requires practice. So getting good means practicing those skills, and so that's what I've worked on going forward. And so now I'm starting to work on decks in this format that are going to give me that opportunity, especially going into regionals. So with that being said, let's move into the deck profile, and is one of the most consistent decks out there when it is able to go off, which of course the deck is all in about trying to make it go off multiple times. And that's one thing about playing mono green Cell versus playing the multicolored cells, is that your game 1 you kind of get to be all in on the package, and you can usually steal a lot of game 1s based on the amount of times that you can get Cell 7 off. So with that being said, if we look at the deck list, I have it broken down into different packages. So if we start with just the Cell package, 4 Cells Birth, 4 of the Growing Evil cells, 4 Evolving cells, 4 Perfect Force cells, 3 Power Stealing cells, 2 Forceful Strike cells. There's a reason why we play 4 Cells Birth. 4 Cells Birth is great not only because it lets you play your early one a turn ahead of schedule, but mostly because of the fact that it's going to allow you to play your 7-drop and your other 5-drops a lot of the time in the later stages of the game without having to tap all the way out. I really like being able to play the 7-drop for 5 energy, especially as we get later and later into the game, because it's just now the window is closing faster and faster on the opponent, and the more times you can play 7-drop Cell, you're going to be increasing your win percentage by X amount, and it's usually a large margin. So I really like to max out on that. And also, Cell's Birth, it's kind of one of those things where it's, if you can't use it right now, you're either charging it for energy or you're putting it underneath your leader to be able to draw 2 cards on the backside. So the card is versatile on the list, so I really don't stress too much about it. But I really like running 4 because I want to see it early, mid game, and even late game. So the card is just stellar in this deck. We run 4 of the 3, 5, and 7 because, of course, we're trying to go for consistency. We want to always have a copy of the 5 and the 7 in the deck, and, of course, we want to see the 3 as early as possible, so that's why we run 4 copies of all those. 3 power stealing cells. This number could change. I could end up flipping the forceful strikes and power stealings through more testing, but the importance of awakening is a big deal to me, and plus just having the ability to make your opponent discard a card and me take a life and gain a card can just provide value, even if it's sometimes in the mid or later part of the game. So I like 3 power stealing cell and 2 forceful strike cell. Forceful strike cell is often the closer of the deck. A lot of times this is what you're winning games with. Sometimes you're even unioning from 3 to 5 to this card to put pressure on the opponent, and it's great because since it has revenge, a lot of times your opponent isn't going to be able to handle it unless they're either playing a Beerus on their turn or something like that. And that's what's great about this card, is that if you do union from 3 to 5 and you do it on your second or third turn, you're going to be able to then, of course, get this down, put pressure on the opponent, and they're not going to have a way to kill it unless they're playing Father, Son, Kamehameha, which, I mean, is a really good card, but I doubt a lot of people are main decking it right now. So Forceful Strike Cell is often he's great in the early game, mid game, but even better in the late game because the majority of the time he's closing the game out. If we go to do our other category, 4 Trunks, Protector of Children, you run this, it's your 10k boost draw card, you run 4. You don't really have a choice. 3 Martial Arts Expert TN, whatever. This card is insane. This card gives you so much card advantage. Being able to activate it multiple times within a turn is pretty disgusting, especially with the Cell Leader being able to get so much card value off of it, because you're going to go, whether if you're at 7 or 8 life, it doesn't matter. You're going to end up using his ability twice. You're going to draw 2 cards off of that. So let's just say by this point you've played 2 energy. Let's say you have 5 to 6 cards in hand. You do this, you activate twice. You know, I have 8 cards in hand. You awaken, you have 10 cards in hand. You sell, you have -1/+2, 11 cards in hand. All because you played a TN, which you comboed with, and just huge value. It's insane. So cards are really important to the deck itself. I really don't like running 4 because the worst thing in the world is 10k boosting into 1. That just feels terrible, especially in the later parts of the game, because you know you're not going to be able to use it to combo to stay alive. So I really like it at 3. Part of me really wants to go to 2, but the card's just so important to your success a lot of the games, so I really like it at 3 right now. 2 Hidden Awakening Kale. This is my main deck fight against tokens, just because it's also good removal. The only thing is sometimes, since you don't have a lot of early drops in the deck, you end up having to, you know, kill itself in order to be able to kill all the tokens or do some sort of board wipe, but I really like it at 2. Again, it's not perfect in this deck, but I do feel like it holds a place because Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks is showing to be a really important card in this format, and I really like having some sort of main deck answer to it. Now we'll go to the Android package. We run 4 Twin Bro Android 17s, 4 Twin Bro Android 17s, 2 Chilling Terror. This card can overperform a lot of the time, and I just love that it's an Android 17. There's no drawback to it. Costs 1 green, costs 3. Yeah, I mean, and they put this effect on an Android 17, which to me is ridiculous. Like, why not put this effect on something that's like forces you to step outside of your strategy to play it? But that's fine. That's whatever. It's Bandai game design. I don't care. But being able to stop your opponent from drawing cards after awakening is incredibly powerful. It happened to me in some games over this weekend where someone got this down and I had to find a way to kill it. I didn't have a way to kill it at the time, and so I was basically stuck not being able to draw cards. So this card is insane. In testing, sometimes it'll win you games, sometimes you won't play it at all, but I really like having 2 copies in the deck. 4 Twin Sis Android 18 and 2 of the 5-drop Android 18. You really just need these for the engine itself. You really want to stay consistent and see as many Android 17s and 18s as possible. I run 6. I don't want to run more than that. I could even consider myself going down to 5, but of course I want to keep up consistency. And of course you can always charge, or you can, you know, sack one that you're not using to draw 2 with Cell, and you're really not losing much value out of it. So I've run 6 copies of Android 18 in the deck, never really casting them though. And then I run 2 Android 20. I really like this card. This card is basically an additional copy of each one, of Android 17 or Android 18. It becomes whatever one you need to get so you can union when you need to. So honestly, I love this card. I love running it. I don't really want to, one of feels really bad, so I run it at 2 copies, and honestly, it's worked out for me. Sometimes I get to sack it for Kale, which provides additional value for me. Sometimes I get to attack with it, because sometimes I'll be able to go aggressive early, turn sideways with Cell, turn sideways with 20, and get my opponent life down, force them to awaken, then play 7-drop Cell, and then neg their hand completely. So I really like Android 20 in the deck. He fits in a really good role. So I run 2 copies. My extra cards, aside from Cell's Birth, I run full power energy, and I run 2 Enrage Go on Awakening. I'm really slim on extras in the main deck, just because I'm so focused around going all in on, you know, the main strategy, that I'm really focused on just doing a few things, which full power energy just keeps me alive, and of course kills one of their lower drop threats. I mean, not a threat, but just kills one of their lower cost combo cards on the table, which is nice, or a blocker, which is even more value. And then 2 Enrage Gohan Awakening. I like this as a main deck answer to people that are trying to get in with their 2-drop, 6-drop Gohans, or they're just trying to get aggressive, and this is a card they don't really expect. I mean, a lot of times when I'm going to play this card, I don't just pass with 2 energy up, I pass with, you know, 3 to 4, just to kind of, you know, give the feint that I either don't have anything and didn't have anything that turn, or that I'm waiting to combo out off of, you know, in order to play defense. So sometimes you can lull your opponent to a false sense of security, and they'll attack into this card, and you just end up, you know, picking up huge value off of it. And the best part about Cell is, like, you generate so much hand advantage that having to neg yourself a card off of this, it really just, it pays dividends for you. It's double green, so that's why I also like it in mono green as well, as opposed to splashing colors, so you can have access to it early, mid, and late game. But otherwise, just a really solid card. So now if we go down to the sideboard, it's pretty simple. Of course, this can tweak and change. You can mess with it as you want. But I'm running 4 Senzu Beans, again, for tokens, Super Saiyan 3, and then also staying alive, giving yourself additional plays in the mirror. It's pretty important. 4 Ultimate Judgment Jocko. I really like this card in the mirror. If you can see one of these against your opponent, and your opponent also understands how important that Awakening is first, if you can Jocko a TM back to their hand just to set them back a turn, that's going to be really powerful, especially if you have a TM in your hand that you can combo with on your turn and get the value in Awaken first. So I really like running Jockos in the sideboard to be able to side those in against the mirror. 4 objections, really it's for the mirror to be faster and have a better late game. And then, of course, it's good against slower decks, too, if you want to also be able to ramp up against them and then be able to deploy more and more threats across the course of a game. I run 2 Mafaba, mostly for the Zamasu matchup, because the 10-drop Zamasu, it's indestructible, so you have no way to deal with it. So you have to just use this. And then, of course, if your opponent's bad and they don't know you side in Mafaba and they swing with their little Zamasu and they have Goku Black on the table, you can Mafaba it and then kill their Goku Black with a skill. And because now Zamasu no longer exists on the table, he is now in a jar. So I really like Mafaba in the Zamasu matchup. And of course the 4th TN. The 4th TN is really for the mirror. You're bringing it in because you need to awaken first. And that's the main plan there. So that's why we have the 4th TN. There's no real tech for... If you want to tech for Ginyu, which Ginyu can be a difficult matchup for this deck, I think you really want to go more aggressive with more double strikers to put more pressure on. So even if you wanted to start siding in more attackers, or let's say the 7-drop Gohan if you want to go big, or if you want to stay blue, you can play, it sounds crazy, but Soccer Gohan, 4-drop 25k double strike, not terrible, and he's only 1 blue devotion, so you'll be able to cast him really easily. So you could do stuff like that to make your game a little bit more interesting against him, and same thing against Zamasu if you want to be able to get more aggressive against those decks. Otherwise, though, this is my mono green cell that I've been working on. I've gotten a lot of information, a lot of data from testing, and I like the deck. I'm not much of a person that likes to play one of the best decks in the room. I like to always try and counterpunch. That's just me. So I don't know if I'll be playing this, but of course I'll continue testing it, tweaking it, finding out what's going to be the best fit for me, and as well as, you know, my team going forward. And then, of course, just trying to make sure that we find the best deck for Hartford, Connecticut, which is interesting because it comes out, I think it's going to be out before the draft box comes out. So it's going to be the first regional without the draft box leaders. So going after that, stuff's going to get crazy because now you're going to have to test the Gotenks, you're going to have to test the Goku, test the Vegeta, test the Frieza. It's going to be insane. Otherwise, though, this game is great. I hope you guys enjoyed my content. I truly appreciate all the feedback and the subscribers I've been gaining. So many subscribers. We're at almost like 270, going on 300. This is wild. So many views. Huge views on my channel, and I appreciate the huge views. So, other than that, thank you guys again for all the feedback and all the love and all the support that you've been giving me. Let me know if there's any other competitive decks that you want to see me do, or if you want to see me continue to do competitive decks, or if you want to see me do more fun off-the-wall stuff, let me know. If you want to hate on me, please be sure to put that in the comments. You can also directly message me if you want. to talk about the game itself, talk about decks, things like that. But otherwise, I truly appreciate all of you. Thanks for subscribing, and I hope this video helps you get good. Okay, bye!